NBA Finals opener is the most watched since league's inaugural year, I believe in 1997. That means it took nearly 27 years to get to this point. 27 years to get to this point. So they started out on a high, and it's just been...
How can a sporting event be hailed as record-breaking when almost nobody seems to have noticed it happened? That was the question on the minds of fans and analysts after ESPN announced that the WNBA Finals opener in 2025 had become the most watched game since the league's inaugural year in 1997. On paper, the numbers seemed undeniable: 1.9 million viewers peaking at 2.5 million.
When are numbers not what the numbers are when you see them? Oh, sure feels like there might be some funny business going on. Is there a little nasty work going on behind the scenes? A little abracadabra, bewitched action? Stephanie White knows this one. Yeah, she's conjuring up ratings for the Aces and the Mercury.
Headlines screamed of a historic night for women's basketball. Social media buzzed with proclamations of unprecedented interest, and league executives celebrated as though the sport had finally achieved mainstream dominance. Yet beneath the surface, the story told a different tale. Almost immediately, a glaring discrepancy emerged. Social media, sports radio, and major talk shows all remained...
Finally, what we all have been waiting for and calling for and questioning why it wasn't happening. Stephanie White has stepped up to the plate in defense of Caitlyn Clark. I could not believe my ears, guys. I could not believe my ears when I heard this. Stephanie White actually being bold enough to stand on business and protect Caitlyn Clark.
Eerily quiet. Fans who followed the league closely reported hearing almost nothing about the finals. No viral clips, no trending hashtags, no widespread conversation. How could a game that supposedly drew millions of viewers leave no cultural footprint? The silence suggested either a very unusual audience or numbers that did not align with reality. Skepticism began spreading like wildfire. The first step in understanding this apparent contradiction involved examining the data itself. ESPN reported the ratings, citing Nielsen metrics. Yet the official Nielsen reports, typically made public to verify such claims, were nowhere to be found. Independent verification of the numbers was absent. Analysts quickly noticed that the reported increase in viewership coincided with a major methodological shift: Nielsen's new Big Data Plus panel system, which now included out-of-home viewing. This meant that anyone who saw the game in a bar, restaurant, airport, or gym could be counted as part of the audience, even if they were only casually glancing at a screen. Suddenly, the meaning of viewership expanded far beyond engaged fans at home. The implications were significant. While the league promoted a narrative of growth and popularity, the new methodology made it possible to inflate numbers without actually attracting more dedicated viewers. Analysts likened it to statistical steroids, artificially boosting totals to make a niche sport appear far more prominent than it truly was. Bars with dozens of patrons could multiply viewer counts without reflecting genuine attention. For a league struggling to maintain mainstream relevance for decades, the new system offered a convenient, if controversial, solution. Yet even as the ratings inflated on paper, one undeniable factor emerged: Caitlyn Clark. Clark, who had recently joined the WNBA after a record-setting college career, had already reshaped the league's visibility. Her games drew massive audiences, often exceeding the viewership numbers ESPN claimed for the finals opener. Her impact was tangible: packed arenas, surging merchandise sales, and unprecedented national attention. Clark's presence created a bridge between college stardom and professional recognition that the WNBA had lacked for decades. Without her, the league's narrative of growth became far less convincing. Historical trends reinforced this point. From 2015 to 2022, WNBA Finals audiences were modest at best, sometimes dipping below 250,000 viewers. The league's visibility remained stagnant despite various marketing initiatives. Then, with Clark's arrival, numbers surged dramatically. By 2023, the finals averaged around 729,000 viewers. In 2024, that number rose to 1.14 million. And in 2025, with the finals opener reported at 1.9 million viewers, the leap appeared astronomical. Yet scrutiny revealed a crucial nuance. The methodological changes meant that these totals were no longer strictly comparable to previous years. The growth celebrated by the league was, in part, a function of how viewers were counted, not necessarily how engaged they were. The lack of transparency only fueled suspicion. Fans noticed that ESPN was the only source reporting these record-breaking figures, without releasing the raw Nielsen data. Industry insiders highlighted a potential conflict of interest. As a major broadcast partner with financial stakes in the league's success, ESPN had motivation to present the WNBA as thriving. When the league appeared strong, advertising revenue and brand credibility followed. Critics argued that the silence from both the network and the league suggested deliberate control over the narrative. Instead of fostering excitement, the announcement sparked distrust. Further examination revealed the extent of the Nielsen changes. The Big Data Plus panel blended digital signals from smart TVs and streaming platforms with small household samples. While the system aimed to capture a fuller picture of audience behavior, it also introduced the potential for overestimation, particularly in niche sports. An individual briefly passing by a screen could be counted alongside someone watching attentively at home. Multiply this across thousands of locations, and a modest event could appear as a major national spectacle. Analysts and fans alike began to question whether the reported growth was real or engineered through clever counting techniques. Compounding the issue was the timing. The new methodology had rolled out just before the finals, coinciding with the league's desire to showcase momentum following Clark's rookie season. By presenting inflated numbers as evidence of sustained interest, the league attempted to demonstrate that its growth extended beyond a single player. Yet the comparison to Clark's actual performance underscored the truth. Much of the audience surge was tied to her presence. Without her, the finals' record viewership did not generate genuine buzz, leaving behind only the appearance of success. Social media conversations quickly framed the controversy in stark terms. Fans coined the phrase "counting ghosts" to describe the discrepancy between reported viewership and actual engagement. Threads dissected every detail of ESPN's announcements, comparing them to historical Nielsen archives and highlighting inconsistencies. Observers pointed out that the press release used averages and peaks inconsistently, blending metrics to inflate perceptions. Independent analysts raised questions about accountability, noting that the lack of publicly available data prevented verification. Even veteran commentators admitted the appearance of manipulation, framing the episode as a cautionary tale about the power of selective reporting. The broader implications extended beyond basketball. The controversy highlighted tensions between media, measurement systems, and the business of sports. When a network benefits financially from inflated ratings, the objectivity of the reporting comes into question. Fans and analysts began asking whether such partnerships should be subject to stricter oversight. The WNBA incident became an example of how perception can overshadow reality, and how data, if not transparent, can be used to construct narratives that may not reflect actual engagement. At the center of the discussion stood Caitlyn Clark, whose genuine popularity could not be manufactured. Analysts referred to the phenomenon as the Caitlyn Clark effect. Viewership surged when she played, and attention dropped when she did not. Her influence revealed a fundamental truth. The league's apparent success depended heavily on a single player. Attempts to present the spike in ratings as evidence of broad, organic growth obscured the reality that the WNBA remained fragile without her presence. Clark's shadow loomed over the finals, exposing the limitations of selective statistics and marketing spin. By the end of the week, the league faced intense scrutiny. Fans, journalists, and sports analysts demanded transparency and accountability. They questioned not only the validity of the ratings, but also the ethics of reporting them without independent verification. The conversation shifted from celebrating supposed milestones to examining structural challenges. How much of the league's growth was real, how much was engineered, and who benefited from the narrative. The incident underscored the importance of honesty in sports reporting and the consequences of attempting to manufacture a story. In retrospect, the 2025 WNBA Finals opener illustrates the complex interplay between data, media, and audience perception. While the numbers appeared impressive, the underlying reality was more nuanced. Methodological changes, financial interests, and reliance on a single star player shaped the narrative in ways that were not immediately apparent. For fans and analysts, the lesson is clear. Impressive statistics are meaningful only when backed by transparency and authentic engagement. Without these elements, success is an illusion. Ultimately, Caitlyn Clark emerged as the unintentional mirror reflecting the league's challenges. Her popularity was tangible, undeniable, and authentic, standing in stark contrast to the carefully constructed narrative of growth. The WNBA's attempt to celebrate a historic finals without her presence highlighted the fragility of the league's broader appeal. The ratings spike, though real on paper, could not replace the absence of organic attention and enthusiasm from fans. In the end, the controversy served as a reminder that authenticity cannot be faked. And that perception, however persuasive, is not a substitute for genuine engagement. The 2025 WNBA Finals opener, celebrated as a historic success, ultimately became a case study in media, measurement, and credibility. It exposed how easily numbers can be misinterpreted, how narratives can be shaped by strategic reporting, and how the influence of a single player can redefine an entire league. For viewers, the takeaway is profound. The story behind the statistics is often more revealing than the numbers themselves, and in the realm of sports, transparency is the only true measure of growth.